and this is what I was going to talk to you about before, where I mean, I grew up in a rural area, and I think these rural areas groom you to be conservative. And I've never felt at peace with the conservative ideology, but it's still been pushed into me, where unless I'm deliberate, you can kind of get back into the rut of that kind of thinking. And then it just kind of spits out things that are culturally insensitive. It's just kind of baked into all that. So you need to hear about that. You need to go over it. You need to have people, but then you also need to be given time to, it's like, okay, somebody says something, it's like, this is something you got to fix. It's like, okay, give me like a day to just process that, sit down and say, okay, find out that I was wrong. And an example about that, I did an article for Our Human Family. Clay Rivers, wonderful editor there. And the comment I made, I was just chatting with him over email. And I said that it's like, well, because I'm white, I don't really have the experience of racism. And he says, no, as a white person, you've experienced the benefits of racism. And that's kind of a hard thing to hear. So it's like, okay, let me just process that. So I had to like sit down and think about it. And I wrote this article, and the article's titled, no, one of the lines in the article is, even though you didn't steal, even though you didn't rob the bank, you're the one who spent the money. That's kind of the idea of this. Okay. So I wrote this article about it. And then I got an email from Loretta Ross. Do you know who that is?
I
Loretta
don't
Ross.
know. Mm-mm.
She's I didn't know who she was at the time either. It turns out she's a really famous activist. And she actually wrote me, she sent me an email, and then we had just a wonderful phone conversation. And she just said on the phone, she's just like, it's like, I see something like that, and that was impactful. She's like, I hadn't heard that particular phrasing before. And she says, I just think it's really important. If somebody is doing a good job like that, we should reach out to them. So then I'm like, I'm always trying to be kind of helpful. And I'm like, well, it's because she was clearly really well informed. I'm like, if you have any articles and stuff, I could promote, I could help you on Medium. She's like, oh dear, I just signed a $1 million contract with Simon and Schuster. I was like, oh geez. So I'm just like, I was like, it was all respectful. I was just trying to do my part. It's like, you're so nice. She's like, oh no. But it's just like her kindness was just really overwhelming. That she would take the time to just reach out in that way and just say good work. And she'd done her book that's coming out. She sat down with these members of the KKK, and she's talked to them, and it's one of these things where I'm still having trouble trying to figure that out. I'm not at the point where I can sit down with somebody who like preaches hatred against my kids, and I can have a and try to figure out what they're thinking. Um, I don't know. How do you feel about that kind of? Are you at that point yet? Is that an inevitable point, or is that? What are your feelings about something like that?
Well, I mean, I've had white nationalists on the show already, and I don't think I've had like somebody who was an avowed KKK member, but I would have a KKK member on. Like, you know, it kind of goes back to what you mentioned earlier about kind of, you didn't say it this way, but this is how I say it, meeting people where they're at. Like, I understand what you were talking about kind of having it pushed in you, right? KKK
Yeah,
members have white supremacy pushed into them. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure that at some point they make a conscious choice, right, to embrace it, and they have to take responsibility and accountability for their choices, right? But ultimately, they're still human beings, right? And I also think that there's a benefit to talking to them publicly. I don't know about privately, but publicly to just show that they lack critical thought in the way that they maintain their ideology and use that as an example to give other people the choice of, is that how you want to be? Is that what you want? Do you want to hold on to a lack of critical thought or whatnot? But yeah, I would do it. And, for that purpose only. In terms of like what they believe, what hatred they hold, any of that, like, it is what it is. That it's their choice. People hate for no reason. I mean, it has nothing to do with me, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fear them, so I'm not gonna
yeah.
hold myself back because
I
of that.
guess
Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.